Welcome to the University Club of Chicago. This venue served, of course, as the home of the Windy City Open PSA Platinum event back in February. But here tonight, for the first time ever, it will feature National Squash League action as the Chicago Grizzlies play host to the New York City Knights in North Division action. Hello, everyone. My name is Jackson Bragman, alongside my co-commentator Sean Choi for tonight's NSL action from the Second City, Chicago, Illinois.
Thanks, Jackson. Looking forward to this one back-to-back for this weekend, and really curious how this matchup's going to play out.
We just finished up hearing from our MC, Bill Buckingham, very experienced MC on the Professional Squash World Tour, blessing us with his presence here tonight in Chicago, Illinois. Pleasure to be working with Bill for the second time this season. He did a great job in Newport, Rhode Island in the Newport-Chicago match. This is Mr. Buckingham's second Chicago Grizzlies match of the season, and he just finished up explaining the rules to the audience in attendance here this evening at the University Club of Chicago. Sean, if you don't mind, perhaps you can take the viewing and listening audience along with you as we discuss the rules and the format of the National Squash League, because although we are playing squash here tonight, the rules and format are completely different, and the NSL format is like nothing that we've ever seen in the world of squash before. Just waiting on Sean here for a quick moment before he's able to break down the rules for us in the past, as done in weeks prior, rather. But in the meantime,
Jackson.
discussing this matchup here tonight between Chicago and New York, and we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, Sean, tell us about the rules here tonight. Obviously, the NSL format, very different from, let's say, the type of squash that we witnessed earlier today in the PSA World Championships from Cairo, Egypt, a completely different team-style format here in the NSL.
Yeah, just to go into the rules a bit. How does this all work, and what's the ruling behind it? Each team is utilizing 3 players competing over 3 periods of squash. The leading team by score after each period will win that leg of the match, and teams can sub on and off their players and use power plays to win the match. And to dig into what power plays are and what the period times are, for power plays, each team has a 2-minute power play each period and a second minute, 1-minute power play in the third period. Only the team on power play can score points. The defending team can win rallies and serve, but not score points until the duration is up. No concurrent power plays, no power plays with 4 minutes or less on the clock. And the running clock is 2 20-minute periods and a third and final 30-minute period. The first 2 legs are worth 1 point each, and the final leg is worth 2 points. And in the case that it is tied after 3 legs, there is an overtime shootout between the 2 teams. And it's 2 timeouts per period for subs, an additional third timeout in the third period.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. And obviously, that's a lot. We threw a lot at you just there in terms of the rules. Clearly a very different team-style format, even compared to the World Squash Federation international competitions. Like we just saw the European international competition a few weeks ago, which was won by England in the championship over France. Obviously, you have the ones from either team going at it, the twos from either team going at it, the threes from either team going at it. Today going to be completely different, as there's Ashby Howard giving us a facial. Thank you, Ashby. It's been great helping us set up here tonight, taking over production duties for tonight's broadcast. Huge shout out to a friend of the broadcast, Ashby Howard. But yeah, obviously tonight going to be very different as we have substitutions. So there's a running 20-minute clock for each of the first 2 periods, as well as a running 30-minute clock for that third period. And teams are allowed to sub players on and off whenever they choose. Now, of course, each team only allotted 2 substitutions for those first 2 periods, and then they get a third extra substitution for period number 3. But Almost always will players be able to sub on and off whenever they choose. The only exception to that is during power plays, which last 2 minutes for either team. And once again, we are going to bring up all of these rules once again as they come up within the match. It's a lot to throw at you guys. We would expect you to remember it all. If this is your first time watching the National Squash League, but if you are a returning viewer, we thank you for tuning back in and joining us here tonight. As Sean, this is what promises to be potentially one of the most exciting matchups of the season, just given the atmosphere and given the venue at the University Club of Chicago, as well as the two teams playing tonight. Obviously, last night we called the Derby City versus Nashville match. Victor Kruin, the second overall pick in the National Squash League draft, the world number 11, not able to be at the match last night. He was stopped at the French border due to some complications with his visa. But tonight we have all the stars. All the stars are here, and it is sure to be a matchup with a lot of firepower. Two very balanced, two very talented teams.
Yeah, looking forward to this one, Jackson. I mean, what an underdog story that was yesterday. Unbelievable win for Colts, even though they won't be advancing to the Spectre Center. But really, today's matchup between the Chicago Grizzlies and the New York Knights. I am Jackson. Just to put you on the spot here, any pre-match predictions going into it? Before then,
There's our
we'll
MC.
hand it off to Bill Buckingham.
The man of the hour, Mr. Buckingham, host of the Squash Radio Podcast. He's our friend and competitor in the Squash Podcast space. Of course, a very friendly, collaborative area. Booze raining down upon what we presume to be the New York City Knights, who are getting ready for their introductions here. We're going to throw down Mr. MC and a special helper, a friend that he has over on the tee here from the University Club of Chicago.
Welcome everyone to Chicago.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the National Squash League here at the beautiful University Club in Chicago, Illinois. We have a fantastic night of squash in store for you, featuring the visiting New York Knights. And your own
Crowd
Chicago
goes wild.
Grizzlies. Please welcome to the court the coach of the New York Knights, Elizabeth Hill.
Elizabeth Hill doubling as team owner for the Knights as well as head coach for the evening.
Sam Sherrill.
Here comes the three-time national champion out of Harvard, Sam Sherrill.
Reluctant high five from the Chicago Grizzlies mascot.
Claire, a fan favorite during NSL draft weekend in Nashville from Chicago. Again, reluctant on the high five for Mr. Beaumaye, one of the top up-and-coming players from France. And here could be the most exciting player in tonight's matchup, taking the court for the first time ever in NSL action. The Colombian Matthias Knudsen. More on Matthias coming up shortly.
From England, Mark Broken.
And of course, the old 1990s Chicago Bulls arena music raining down over the University Club of Chicago as the Grizzlies make their entrance. Mark Brokeman leading the efforts as coach. There's Yoni Ellis, the head pro at the University Club of Chicago.
Public, Daniel McDibb. From England, Ben Smith.
McBibb, the 32-year-old from Czech Republic. He's got that big Grizzly beard to accompany his Grizzlies jersey.
The defending U.S. champion from New
Here
York
comes
City
Ben Smith, As you can see, he's a big boy, 6'4", out of Grimsby, England. And here comes the Grizzlies' first draft pick this year, the American Andrew Douglas, making his way onto the court, the star player for the Chicago Grizzlies here tonight. Say cheese, Sean.
Big cheese.
First on court, we have Andrew Douglas and Matthias Knudsen.
Let's go, Andrew! Let's go, Andrew!
And what a matchup we have to kick things off here tonight, Sean. Andrew Douglas versus Matthias Knudsen. Douglas just outside the world top 50, the reigning United States senior national champion after beating Spencer Lovejoy in the finals of that event. Last year, he'll defend his title coming up next month at the Arlen Specter Center. That's not the only premier squash event taking place at the Specter Center next month. The National Squash League Finals, June 21st, will be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the Specter Center. We already know one of the two teams that's going to be in action that night. The Nashville Crushers booking their spot in the NSL Finals by winning the first period against the Derby City Colts last night. Derby City did pull off a massive upset over the Crushers, but Nashville did just enough to clinch the South Division and book their ticket to Philly. And now this matchup with major implications in the North Division, Sean.
I'm looking forward to this matchup. Probably one of the best times for Andrew Douglas right now as the U.S. Nationals are coming up, and we know him. I think he's probably most motivated for the U.S. Nationals, so we know his level. We know if he's really putting in the effort, the level he can play at, and I honestly think he might be the best player out of everyone here today. I know he has a fantastic record against Sebastian Bonelay, even though he's the highest-ranked player. And then we have Matthias Knudsen, who is an absolute celebrity in the squash world right now, and really excited to see him move up the rankings as he's coming back from an injury and really pursuing the professional circuit now as he's graduated from Drexel last year.
Matthias, 24 years old, couple years out of Drexel, still working extraordinarily closely with head coach for the Drexel Dragons, John White, as well as former assistant coach for Drexel, but now current head coach at the Montgomery Bell Academy in Nashville, Tennessee, Dylan Cunningham. Of course, John White, a former world number one. Dylan Cunningham, no slouch in his own right, a former top 100 player in the world. Those his two coaches throughout the year, 24 years old, as we mentioned, a world number 99 ranking, cracking into the top 100 for the first time. Trick shots on the PSA World Tour. And his Instagram account. Go give Matthias a follow if you want to see him do some unbelievable things with the racket. Extraordinarily skilled and talented racketsman who is proving that he has the talent to hang with the best players in the world. Sean, here we go from the University Club of Chicago. The Grizzlies 0-1, the New York City Knights 0-0, their first matchup of the 2024 season, and we're underway. These two teams, along with the Newport Dragons, make up the trifecta in the North Division. The crowd
Giving the Newport Dragons a run for their money right now. Loving the atmosphere here, Jackson.
rowdy for the no-let decision, Sean. Love to see it. Newport did beat so if New York is able to win this matchup here tonight against Chicago, they will have a home match against the Dragons in 2 weeks' time. That matchup will determine the victors of the North Division, and that match will also determine which team from the North Division represents the North in the National Squash League Finals at
What
the
a start
Spectre
with
Center.
2 decisions already being involved.
Sean, do you have a prediction for tonight's matchup?
I do. I'm going to apologize in advance, as I do have a huge bias for Team New York. I'm going to try my best to not display that bias today, as I am based in New York, as I am rooting for them. But I'm going to keep the bias out. I do think Chicago might be too strong for the New York Knights, but given my track record right now, I would like to be correct on the predictions. Hopefully I continue the streak.
Yeah, Sean, I'm going to have to agree with you. I favor the Knights here tonight, as talented as Andrew Douglas is. I do think that this Knights team is incredibly exciting. Baumai is such a great athlete. Sam Sherrill, so fit. We'll have more on Sam later. Then Matthias Knudsen, so skilled with the racket. Really looking forward to seeing him on the aforementioned power play. One of the things that makes the NSL so unique, that power play. Each team does have a 2-minute power play at their disposal at some point in this first period. So we will certainly see the power play in action.
Fascinating to see how
At any
Matthias uses
moment's
all the
notice
trick
here,
shots
Sean, Matthias is off to a big start. Dougie reviving the Chicago faithful, drawing the Grizzlies within 3. It's a great bit of deception there from the University of Pennsylvania graduate. Sean, fun fact about Andrew is the 2021 University of Pennsylvania graduate. Stayed at Penn another year, did his master's at Penn, and helped the University of Pennsylvania to a semifinal finish in college squash that season. Or, excuse me, a finals appearance where they fell to the Harvard Crimson, I believe. But Dougie, actually one of 2 individuals in his class at UPenn 2021, one of 2 individuals named Andrew Douglas. There was another Andrew Douglas in that Penn class. So, oftentimes there's some confusion in and around campus.
I mean, not really quite the unique of a name Andrew Douglas is in.
No, and in the interest of fairness, I think you're correct, Sean. So that's great width on the cross
super
from
interesting
Matthias.
to see. I mean, these 2 had very similar tracks. 2 very successful junior players going to college. Both had played on the top of the ladder, as well as you mentioned, both actually did another year in college.
Yeah. Andrew not going away quietly here. And Sean, I had the opportunity to chat with Matthias earlier this week. He was telling me about his history with Andrew. They're good friends off the court, but they haven't played in a tournament or in a competitive match since boys under 13 at the U.S. Junior Open. Matthias getting the better of Dougie in that matchup. He said he beat Spencer Lovejoy in the first round and Andrew Douglas in the second round. So these 2 go way back to early in the junior days, and now that here they are, duking it out in National Squash League action.
Matthias definitely could give Veer a run for his money for knowing the results. Matthias is infamous for knowing every result on the circuit, whether it be juniors or the senior level. So, such a huge, genuine fan of squash, and I'm just glad to see him in action today. He's built up a bit of a lead here in the first period.
Yeah, total student of the game. And here you see the quick fire attacking. He's not feathering that ball in. He's going to slap it into the nick if he can help it. Dougie playing some great defensive squash, turning the tables on the Colombian. Narrowing the lead down to 3 points.
Very different styles of play between these two players. We'll see. Oh.
Oy vey, Sean.
We have our first incident on the NSL. Hopefully Andrew's okay. I think caught him on the backswing there from Matthias.
All right, folks, we're just going to
Caught
take
his
an injury timeout.
eye.
Absolutely hate to see that, Sean. We're off to a great start.
Complete accident by Matthias.
Of course, never intentional. We mentioned Matthias and Dougie, great friends off the court. Complete accident. These two training partners at the Spectre Center. Matthias splitting his time between Bogota, Colombia, and Philly during the season. Total freak accident.
It's our first injury timeout on the NSL format, so this is unprecedented situation for the NSL Jackson. But in the meantime, a little bit more, I just want to curious what your prediction actually is on Matthias as a player, as he's really finally doing the full-time professional, as he's fully healthy now and fully out of college obligations as well. Do you have any thoughts on him as a player and how far he's going to move up the rankings, as there is a lot of excitement around him in the squash community?
Sean, it's been a heck of a year for Matthias. Obviously, we mentioned earlier, breaking into the top 100 for the first time. That's definitely a barrier for a lot of these players. There are definitely key numbers when it comes to the PSA World Tour rankings. That top 100 is definitely a big one. The next one is kind of that top 60, top 50, where you want to start making it into the platinum events. So that'll be the next hurdle for Matthias to get over. Oftentimes, it's not too tough for a player to jump from maybe 100 or 110 to 80 or even 75, but then it just becomes so difficult every ranking spot from that point on. And a 3-minute injury timeout. And then we'll have a substitution, according to the MC, Bill Buckingham. But I do think Matthias absolutely has the talent to continue to climb the rankings. He's shown this season that he's definitely more capable than... he's capable of more than just trick shots on a social media account. Picking up top 80 win at the Squash in the Land bronze event from Cleveland earlier this year, and then pushing one of the top American players and world top 60, Shahjahan Khan, to a close 5 games in the second round. It's just had a lot of big results throughout the year.
As we see
Like
Ben
that one,
Smith
showing he has
entering
the talent
the
to
court
hang.
as a substitution. It's one of the luxuries, I guess, with the NSL, as there are other players available as well. Ben Smith, very exciting young prospect. I'm One of the most aesthetically pleasing players to watch, Jackson, on the tour right now, as I think I believe he's around 22 years old. Did not take the college route, so he might not be getting the recognition that maybe other players are getting, but he is no joke of a player, as he's already around, I think it is his highest ranking right now at 69, and recently represented Team England in the European Championships as they took away the gold.
Yeah, one of the young guns. You gotta wonder what they're putting in the water at some of these British squash clubs. You know, Ben Smith, you got Adrian Waller, of course the great James Willstrop, the former world #1. Saw him coaching Mustafa Asal in the World Championship final today. A lot of tall glass of water coming out of England. Ben Smith from Grimsby, small town in England. Population just over 80,000. Of course, Sacha Baron Cohen made a great film about the town Grimsby. We encourage the viewers to conduct their own research.
This should be a good match for Matthias, as he prepares. This is exactly the type of player that he's probably going to be facing as he tries to move up the rankings. As also Ben Smith trying to move out of the Challenger Tour into the Platinum events. Both very tall players.
Absolutely, Sean.
In stature.
Oh, that's gone for the nick there.
A power play will now
Dubious,
start for New York for the next 2 minutes. Only New York could score.
Pickup.
And here comes the first power play, Sean. We've been waiting for a Matthias Knudsen power play. This is where he should shine. Now, since New York is called the power play, or is it a Chicago power play? We're not sure. Do you know, Sean? Did you hear the announcement from Mr. Buckingham? I believe it was New York.
It is New York power
As
play.
the Knights. So the Knights are on power play here. Only Matthias can score points for the next minute and 30 seconds here. Chicago unable to score. So the name of the game for Ben Smith, extend. Extend, extend, extend these rallies. Draw them out. Because if he wins them, doesn't matter. Point will not be added to his score. Only Matthias can score here. So Matthias can play with a little bit more risk. He can go for shots maybe an inch above the tin. And if he makes an error, it's no harm, no foul.
Sweet time with the ball right there.
An afternoon stroll for Mr. Smith. Strategic.
Matthias is
Matthias isn't going to like it, but it is smart. These players do have 10 seconds in between rallies. Ben Smith really pushing that count to the limit. We've really yet to see a player take as long in between rallies on these power play defenses, Sean. Usually players are pretty quick.
To see it. Love it when it gets spicy
Smith
like this.
Milking it here. Matthias not pleased. He's gone for the neck. Again. Hasn't found it yet, but I promise he's more than capable. Clips the top of the tin there.
Incredible.
Smith defending well, hanging in there. Chicago fans helping out their teammates. Ben Smith says the power play was over. Even if it was, Sean, I think that point would still count.
This is great.
Oh, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready, they say.
There seems to be a bit of a confusion here.
The referee said
Confusion.
the point, the score is 12-6. The power play is over.
Ben Smith waving the ref off. Absolute rubbish.
I think it's the right call. A rocky start from the Windy City. But the New York City Knights in good shape here in period number 1.
Substitution. Sebastian Bomalek.
Here comes our second substitution.
The
The first for New York.
In today's entire lineup, hailing from France. What a pickup by New York Knights.
Free agency ad off the waiver wire for the New York City Knights.
Incredible mover, Sebastian Bonmalé.
Such a freakish athlete. Here he is, seeing his first NSL action. World number 29, 26 years old. training with Gregory Gaultier
I mean, what a performance
and
he had in the European
Gaultier's
Championships.
squad in Prague.
Doing his part in the final against England, beating Curtis Malik. Unfortunately, France couldn't push it to the end, but all credit to Sebastian for doing his part in the team play. We know how good of a player he is in that team format, so hopefully he can continue on in the NSL.
13-7.
So that mini lead that Matthias was able to build on, Andrew is reaping the benefits still, and Chicago Grizzlies yet to use a power play. As Ben Smith makes a
It's
costly error.
total shank there from Ben Smith. Sean, which country do you think has the brighter future in squash over the next 10 years, would you say? Obviously, England taking on France in the European Championships last week, but do you think one country might have a brighter future ahead? Moving forward, obviously, Mohammed and Marwan El-Sharbaghi getting up there in age as there's a behind the back from Beaumaye, which leads to a stroke. Absolutely awesome from the Frenchman.
That's a fantastic question, Jack.
But Sean,
I
a
mean,
young
these
French
are two
guys coming through the
powerhouses of
ranks right
squash with France and England, two classic. I mean, what a rivalry we have. They've built up. But, I mean, I know we have Jonah Bryant as one of the big junior hopes for England right now, who's been incredible moving up the rankings and one of the best junior players to come out of the program there. And France just always been consistent in producing players. I think in terms of firepower at the top side, I think England might have the edge. But in terms of consistency in the top 50 of volume of players, I think I might have to give to France.
So let me ask you this follow-up, Sean. Do you think when it's all said and done, do you think that one, Jonah Bryant, will finish his career with a higher all-time high world ranking than France's Victor Coulier? So obviously already number 11 in the world right now, has reached a ranking of 7 previous.
That's a tough question, Chad. That's a really tough question. I'm going to go on the limb and say, yeah, I do think Jonah Bryant's upside is a bit higher than Victor at the moment.
Wow.
But hopefully,
Obviously a storied rivalry.
hopefully now Victor doesn't
Keep
hear
our
that
finger on
and
the pulse
it
of
never
that.
shows up on my podcast episode. So let's hope that he doesn't hear that.
Yeah, Victor. It's been good to both of us. Interviews in the past. An interesting character. Made it to the third round of the World Championships this year from
You
Cairo.
see the length of Ben Smith, even though he did that costly error, as period 1 is running away for the New York Knights. Jackson, I can't think of a
hard to come
more
back from.
season matchup between two teams right now so far, between the New York Knights and Chicago Grizzlies so far. So I'm really excited how the score lines changed, different matchups being utilized, and as we saw yesterday, coaching is a huge aspect in the NSL. What different types of matchups and power plays and substitutions.
Good stroke. There it is.
Soft stroke.
Daniel Mekbib waiting on the bench for the Grizzlies. Chicago still does have a power play in their back pocket, so that could be the saving grace for them ultimately if they are to make a comeback here in period number 1. Now remember, the first and second period worth 1 point apiece. The third period worth 2 points, so a team is never out of it. You can drop those first 2 periods and still be hanging in the mix. And of course, if the score is tied up at 2-2 after 3 periods, then we go to a shootout. We've yet to have a shootout so far this season, Sean. This is match number 5.
Oh,
And here comes
What
the
a
power
time.
play. It's now or never for the Grizzlies.
Ben Smith could not be further off from the nick there, but
It's a great line.
that nick. Crowd behind him.
It's outrageous. Straight
Jackson brought
drive,
up
glued to the
an
sidewall.
incredible statistic yesterday with every game so far, the home team has won it. But New York Knights coming in trying to break that statistic right now.
from Beaumaye. 2 points for Smith in just under a minute. Sean, as we have discussed a number of times in the past, I would say 4 points or more is considered a very strong power play. That's the target. Beaumaye getting the better of that exchange, and he's going to take his time, just as Ben Smith did when defending Knutsson's power play a few minutes ago. Oh, a massive dive from Beaumaye. Close but no cigar for the Frenchman. Ben Smith keeps rolling. He's completely detached his wrist there, but finds the 10. And that cross volley drop. And more likely than not, this will be the final point of the Chicago power play. Ben Smith needs this point badly, and he gets it. And Sean, that's 4 points on the power play, just as we discussed. And surely Chicago still has a chance. Still hanging around, and here comes for the first time Daniel Mekbib, one of the veterans of the National Squash League, 32 years old, from the Czech Republic.
Lefty from Czech.
Lefty is Mekbib. Throwing a bit of a different look for Beaumaye. He's going to have to adjust quickly. That's what's so exciting about the NSL format. All sorts of different looks can come at you at any different time.
Out of nowhere,
and here comes Sam Sherrill. Sam Sherrill's fired up here tonight, Sean. I talked to Sam earlier this week. Told me he's been training diligently for this match. Obviously not on the Pro Squash World Tour, but don't let that fool you. He is a killer out there, a 4-time first-team All-American for the Harvard Crimson. A 58-3 record at Harvard, Sean. He did not lose a match after his freshman year of college. Undefeated sophomore through senior year. And a 3-time national champion. Usually playing in that 3 spot for the Crimson. Behind Marwan Tarek and of course Victor Krulin, as that's a really well-placed drop shot by Mekbib. But Sean, Sam Sherrill playing a couple spots ahead of one Timmy Brownell on those Harvard teams back in the day. Obviously, we know how much success Timmy's gone on to have on tour.
Some accusations on stacking the ladder, but we won't go into Jackson on those accusations, as we know how good of a player Sam Sherrill is. But
it was just such a great Harvard team in the early 2020s. Probably the greatest college squash team ever assembled. I'm not the first one to say that. And Sherrill, a key part of that roster.
Crowd.
Yes, let given and time ticking away. Sherrill been training with his former Harvard teammate Marwan Tarek in preparation for this match. Tarek also electing to not take the professional route, even though both of these individuals more than capable of doing so. Both based in New York, so this is a bit of a
absolute shocker that the NSL wasn't able to
pick.
get Marwan Tarek on the NSL, given his track record and his pedigree of squash. Former World Junior Champion, individual collegiate champion. Quite the resume he's built up. Incredible shame that he didn't. He's not pursuing the professional circuit.
Can't get over that Harvard team from 2021, 2022. So talented. I mean, Sean, you had George Crown playing 7 on that team. One of the greatest Canadian junior players of all time. Made it to a national individual championship final against Mohamed Sharaf last year.
25-17.
It's fascinating to see how Sam Sherrill is going to stack up against someone who is in the professional circuit in the top 100, but he's showing his class right now, and that he holds his own.
More than holding his own, showing known for his fitness. He can run for days. Smart strategically for the Knights here. They're just going to want to extend these rallies. already have built up a major league, so Cheryl is just going to want to hang on to that lead. As we are under a minute left in period number 1. This one's all but over. The New York City Knights are going to find themselves with a big-time advantage following period number 1 action. It's a great kill for McBib, but maybe too little too late, Sean. 100%.
Jackson, will we see a shootout today?
Wow. Putting me on the spot, Sean.
27-19.
Really intrigued
Seconds left in the period.
to see how period number 2 shakes out. But if New York is able to take period number 2, I could see Chicago definitely making a push in the third. And we could get our first shootout in NSL history here tonight.
2. Last rally.
Bill Buckingham counting us down. And there's a nick for McBib, but it is met with little applause as the Chicago crowd completely deflated by the epic efforts of the New York City Knights. A quite dominant performance by New York. Matthias Knudsen starting things off very strong for New York. Unfortunately, that performance hampered a bit by the injury to Andrew Douglas. Here he is.
Andrew, how you feeling? You live in Philadelphia. You look a little like Rocky right now. Tell the audience how you're feeling.
Yeah, I feel good. Hopefully win. Yeah, I feel good. So thanks for you guys, the doctor. He's here somewhere.
Andrew, will we see you back on court tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna play.
All right, Andrew Douglas.
That's good news, Jackson. Despite Matthias's valiant effort to knock him out of the game, is deemed unsuccessful. So he's back. He's ready to go. That definitely gave them advantage, as Andrew Douglas is their best player right now. Quite the tactic if other teams are planning to adopt, as if you just knock out the top player and you force a substitution.
Yeah, Sean, Matthias Knudsen, he shakes his fists in frustration, but Andrew Douglas, tough as nails. Frankly, tough as a bag of rusty old nails. And it's never say die attitude for Dougie. But don't let that fool you. Sharp as a whip as well. So bright individual. Research assistant at the Penn Carey School of Law. Exceptional student in his time at the University of Pennsylvania. There you see on your screens U.S. Squash, a proud partner of the National Squash League. The U.S. Squash and the National Squash League forming a partnership just over a month ago. And that is going to open up so many different avenues for the NSL, for U.S. Squash. That media deal, huge, and one of the big perks of this opportunity and of this partnership between U.S. Squash and the National Squash League is, of course, the fact that the National Squash League finals will be contested at the U.S. Squash at the Earl Inspector U.S. Squash Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, June 21st. Tickets now on sale at NSLsport.com. Don't hesitate to head over to the NSL website to get your NSL Finals tickets today. Witness history, witness the first ever National Squash League Finals from the Spectre Center. June 21st. While you're on NSLsport.com, now there's a lot of great stuff on there, so I encourage you to click around. But in addition to ticket sales, you can also purchase your favorite players' NSL jersey. Matthias Knudsen, Andrew Douglas, both of their jerseys available for sale on NSLsport.com. And a cool thing that the NSL is doing, Sean, is these jerseys that are for sale on NSLsport.com will be sold to you. They'll arrive at your house, but you can do some good for these pro players that work so hard. And I think we can all agree that oftentimes these individuals are underpaid. Half of the proceeds of these jersey sales will go directly into your favorite players' pockets. So maybe a little bit of extra encouragement or motivation to head to NSLsport.com today to purchase your favorite players' jerseys. Sean, which team do you think has the best jersey? I don't think we've tackled this very important, very complex issue yet this year.
I think we're looking at the two teams with the best jerseys right now in the game. I wish the New York Knights had white pants as well, part of their jerseys. The all clean, all white look would be nice. A little bit of Wimbledon action. But let's see Andrews back with Armory now to protect him. So Matthias' swing doesn't kill him this time with the goggles.
Yeah, Sean, I believe I've mentioned this on a previous broadcast, but as a wee lad, I actually tore my retina on the squash court way back in the day. This would have been 7 or 8 years ago. I was not wearing my protective eyewear as I should have been. So to all the kids out there, wear your eyewear. These individuals, seasoned professionals, they know better than to hit one another. Although Matthias clearly had devious intentions when it came to Mr. Douglas. We're joking, of course. But even the best in the world can get banged up in the eye on the squash court. Sean, I just think those white New York City Knights jerseys are so cool. I think that's got to be my pick. But the Grizzlies logo looks great. I do like the Newport jerseys a lot. I don't think there's a bad jersey in the bunch.
That's true. And yeah, you name a good point that half the proceeds go to the players. Guys, support these players. It's just not enough money in the sport, and they deserve so much more. And gonna be hopefully the New York Knights can send me a jersey as a New York native right now if they're listening in.
Sean, you would get like you'd be like an honorary graduate from like one of those kind of prestigious universities. Like if you went to Wesleyan and then dropped out per se to pursue, your modeling career. I know you had many offers on the table back in the day.
A lot of offers.
Perhaps you would have been famous enough where Wesleyan would have come back to you and said, "Hey, here's this honorary degree." Maybe they could send you an honorary jersey though.
Yeah.
To make up for troubles. As Dougie looking unfazed by the injury.
It's looking good. He looks a lot more sprightly
here
than the first period. Matthias points his head. Less room for error for the Chicago Grizzlies as New York Knights really dominated that first period. I'm sure Andrew's out here with a point to prove, as they were missing him in a crucial moments in period 1. Oh,
Matthias, stop it.
Classic. Backhand topspin, one of his favorite shots.
Somehow it doesn't phase Dougie, though. But this is really constructive squash for Matthias. Showing his tactics as well as his skill. Working Dougie corner to corner here. And it's too good from Andrew Douglas. The crowd goes wild. It's one of the bigger ovations we've heard here tonight. Chicago on top in period number 2.
I do think Andrew's pace right now is being a bit too much for Matthias' liking. As he squeezes another error.
Substitution.
I think the crowd says Matthias can't handle it. Now this is my favorite matchup of the day. Jackson, Sebastian Beaumoulin, and Andrew Douglas, that they played in the TOC, with Andrew taking that victory a couple months back. I'm sure Sebastian's out with vengeance.
Huge victory for Dougie. This is really a power versus agility matchup. Dougie's such a powerful mover. Sebastian so swift, so light on his feet. Great change of direction. Unbelievable athlete.
I do believe Sebastian Beaumoulin on YouTube does some squash vlogs. I don't know if he's going to continue doing them, but I think I've seen one. So give him the support. We more content out there for you guys out who are interested in the day-to-day of the pro squash players. It is interesting. So.
There is somewhere, if you dig hard enough, a day in the life video of one Timmy Brownell on YouTube, which I rewatch time to time every couple months. Provides me great enjoyment.
That one's a
Couple
bit
giggles
more
along the way.
language friendly to the English speakers out there.
Yeah,
compared to
definitely
Sebastian's
encourage that we check that out. Let us know in the
French.
live chat if you want to see more live vlogs and days in the life from our friends of the broadcast and lead co-founders Timmy Brownell and Spencer Lovejoy. I'm going to raise my hand and say I'm going to be one of those people, Sean. Bomai, also a big fan of Pokemon. He goes from town to town on the PSA World Tour, traveling around the world collecting Pokemon cards from every country he visits. I asked him his favorite Pokemon. He said it was Lucario, the wolf. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, Sean. Sean, are you a Pokemon guy? Do you have a favorite Pokemon?
I used to play, but I'm embarrassed right now. I think I've lost my Pokemon knowledge. Even though I played obsessively when I was younger on the DS. I think Charizard was my favorite back in the day, but I don't want to sound too old. I am not that old.
You're not too old. Not yet. So here comes
Lengthy
Ben Smith.
rallies.
Charizard, a very basic pick, though. I got to be honest. Yeah, those were a couple belters there. The American holding his own, following the eye injury. We're glad to see he's okay.
Awesome to see Jackson
done
a lot
well
more
here.
rally-oriented squash right now to open up this second period, as not a lot of points have been scored. It
is a nice change of pace.
But
In period number one
quality.
here tonight, and then especially yesterday for the majority of that Nashville Derby City match. A lot of quick-paced, fast, rapid-fire squash, which is great, especially when the quality's high as it was yesterday. Yesterday, I think, was probably the best match of the year, squash-wise. But it is nice to see some lengthier rallies, as we see both players lifting the ball above the service line a little bit more consistently here, jockeying for position.
Lovely camera work here. Loving this angle.
Love this angle, Sean. That's a great shot by Ben Smith. Hands soft as a baby's bottom. Draws New York, or excuse me, doesn't draw
really
New
a
York,
big
extends
fan.
the lead for Chicago.
Big fan of Ben Smith's game. I feel like he deserves more attention from Team England. I'm glad he was part of that senior squad. Hopefully he gets more attention from the squash media, as he's a young and upcoming player.
Bomai took an interesting path of the ball, but is able to get that back off the back glass. Oh, and that's great once again
What a shot!
from the man from Grimsby. Slotting a second nick in a row.
That's the chance breakout.
And it's been all Chicago here in period number 2. We have a power play from New York, though. The Knights looking to stop the bleeding from Chicago. New York, the only team able to score points on this power play. And Sebastian Bombaye wasting no time to get New York on the board in quick fashion. Ben Smith, we'll see if he can extend these rallies. This is his second power play defense of the match.
We saw his first, his defense, as the crowd encourages him to utilize the same tactics he used in the first period. Sebastian,
There's
with
point
a
number
quick
2.
fire
for
right
Bombaye.
now, straight into the neck. It's his first miss of the neck there. With the wrong footing boast.
Let's go, man. Smart.
Game of lob drop on her hands, Sean Choi. This is brilliant from Smith. Outstandingly done.
The lobs are great. It's actually just inviting power play players to just go for it, which tends to be an error. Also squeezes another.
And Smith is reading Beaumont like a book right now, too. Only 2 points so far on this power play for the Frenchman.
Well,
So we get the final
had
point
enough with
of
the
the
time
power
wasting.
play.
End of the power play. That is the end of the power play.
3 points for Sebastian on that power play.
Jackson, I'd say that's incredible
Not
defense from Ben
bad, but
Smith.
not great. I thought it was a great defense from Ben Smith.
I mean, 3
really
points from the
using
best
that height
player
on
in
the
the New
front
York
wall.
Knights. We'll take it.
Reading Sebastian well. Yeah, Sebastian, a dangerous attacking player, and Smith not fooled by his deception.
Substitution for Chicago. Daniel McNair.
Ben Smith, a great shift for him. He's got to be gassed. And here comes McBib, the man from the Czech Republic. And as we've discussed here, Sean, we've crossed the midway point of period number 2. Relatively low scoring in the early going here.
Jackson, unfortunately, if the Chicago Grizzlies take this, we're going to be missing out on a potential shootout.
Right side, though, Sean. Period number 3 will determine the match.
That is indeed true. I think that's
If
a big
Chicago's
part of
able
me
to take
that
period number
hopes
2, which does
actually
build
that
some
the New York
excitement.
Knights to win this so we can have that shootout.
It's not a bad point at all, Sean.
Actually, I'm hoping that there's
We want drama. We want excitement
we
here in
want
the
all the
NSL.
drama. Hopefully there's some additive sports betting too in the NSL. That's maybe in the future.
Could be on the horizon. Not to spoil future plans. Big things on the horizon for the NSL. A
DraftKings,
lot of
if you're
big
listening
announcements
up.
coming. Draft weekend and DraftKings. FanDuel. What's happening, guys?
It's got to be such a switch up having to play a right hand to a left-handed player.
And this has happened twice
must be
for
such an
Beaumont,
asset.
where a righty checking on for a lefty in the middle of Beaumont's shift. This happened to him in the first period as well. Major adjustment. You're absolutely right, Sean. Sean, if sports betting was brought to the National Squash League, what do you think would be the first prop bet that you would install that folk like you and I could bet on? You and I would probably abstain from the betting as commentators, but regular folk as in fans of the league.
Oh, Jackson, don't count me out. I could, behind the scenes, put in some bets.
Of course, Sean has concluded his collegiate squash playing career. I, of course, still unable to gamble, but Sean would have a free-for-all, I'm sure.
I think one of the first prop bet might be time wasting during power plays. Should be a really fun one. How many seconds?
Yeah, Ben Smith, the early
How many seconds can
favorite.
Ben Smith get off that clock? It would be fantastic.
Oh, and there's a fall for Beaumont.
Wow, what a rally!
He's done well to attempt to retrieve that ball.
Substitution for New York. Sam
Gut buster. That's a rally and a half. And here comes Cheryl. We'll see if we can't see some
Power play for Chicago.
closing heroics here. Both teams have exhausted all of their substitutions. Cheryl is just checked on, and he's thrown right into a power play. No time to ease into things for the American. New York already down 3. They cannot afford to fall down by 7 or 8 points.
I
Over the
do
course
think
of the
Sam
next
Sherrill's game
90
is built for the
seconds.
defense of the power play, Jackson. And just as I say that, he loses the point.
Absolutely. Announcer jinx, but I do think you're right, Sean. Your head's in the right spot. Cheryl's so fit. Great counter attacker, but oftentimes is waiting for his opponents to make the first mistake. There's point number 2 for McBib on the Chicago power
Jackson,
play.
we saw yesterday the Stellar Artois in action, and today the Corona. Love it to see the different products being utilized in the crowd.
Different venues, different parts of the United States. Of course, Louisville, Kentucky, not far from Chicago, Illinois, but Louisville maybe considered a little bit more southern than it's kind of a southern / Midwest hybrid. Chicago is about as Midwest as it gets. The Corona.
For those of you out there tuning in, if you take a look at how Sam Sherrill feathers in the drop shot, he kind of utilized the topspin, which is a very high skill, and it glues to the side wall, which is a fantastic thing to see, and you should really take note of it. It's a really high skill shot.
20 seconds left in the power play. 20 seconds.
Sherrill just needs to hang on for another 15 seconds here, and it's a great point, Sean. Sherrill just squeezing these balls along the side wall. This will be the final point of the power play. And an error from Mekbib. He didn't have to rush there. This is going to be the final point of the power play, regardless of how much time it took. And Sherrill comes away relatively unscathed from that power play. Only 3 points for Mekbib. Well, New York City still in this, but Sherrill has work to do.
Hopefully,
And we're seeing the
at
Corona
the
in the
very
crowd here
least,
tonight. What would be
Daniel
your drink of
Mekbib,
choice for an NFL,
put some
an
damage
NFL matchup?
on those legs. Sorry, Jackson. What were you asking?
Well, we see the Corona in the crowd here tonight, Sean. What would be your drink of choice if you were to attend one of these NFL matchups?
I mean, big Stella guy here, but would love the occasional Blue Moon. I think that's a fantastic beer.
And classic Mooner. It's not a bad choice at all, from what I've told,
Jackson,
at least.
I won't be asking you
Of course not.
as you would never touch such a thing.
Absolutely not.
Would never even accuse you of it.
9:13.
Appreciate the respect, Sean.
Jackson, commentator, one of the most well-behaved individuals out there in the squash scene,
That's right. We've got
on and
another,
off the court.
another year and a half until alcohol touches my tongue, Sean.
14.
Wow.
Wow, what a shot! What a shot! I think there were a lot of
Sherrill hanging
doubters
around.
of Sam Sherrill, as he's not a professional player, but he's silencing them right now.
Quite precise on his length heading as well. A lot of these balls dying in the back. 2 corners.
Lengthy rally as Sam goes for it.
He's going for the neck. Clock
Jason, how long
becoming
do you
a
think Sam
factor
Sherrill
here,
warmed
Sean.
up today for? As we mentioned that
Well,
in
Sean-
NSL Talk.
Yeah, obviously on episode 2 of NSL Talk, a little over a month ago, we were able to interview Sam as he draws the Knights within 3. And we grilled Sam about testimonies from his teammates that he typically engages in a minimal warm-up. The running joke on the Harvard men's squash team back in the day was that Sam does 10 jumping jacks and he's ready to go. That should be a stroke. It is. 2 points to go for Sherrill. He did confirm that he does do more than 10 jumping jacks, and he does do a proper warm-up, but it may be a little bit less than that of some of his Harvard brethren.
Lovely shot. What a cut.
Mekbib responds. I believe those 4 straight points for Sherrill. Mekbib stopping the bleeding. That was a huge point for him.
What a straight line.
And,
Great follow-up.
and no room for error here for Sam Sherrill. Wow, what a kill. Wow. And Mekbib gets the better of that exchange, and that'll all but seal it for the Chicago Grizzlies. Up 4 now as we have under a minute remaining in period number 2.
17-12.
And Sean, another match without the illustrious shootout. I feel that the story, the NSL script writers are building towards the first ever NSL shootout potentially in the NSL finals. That could be the direction we're going in.
I think we're going to have a chat with the script writers. There's that top spin feathering in.
Wow. Too little too late, but Cheryl showing his skill. Really guessing there. Mekbib, a strong closing performance. We're tied up at 1 point to 1. The third period will determine the winner. It all comes down to period number 3. So we're going to hear from Matthias Knudsen now.
This format is just like a living thing in squash. It's so fun and it's so dynamic. It makes the game so fun, you know? Having the time, having the pressure, and having teammates always makes stuff better. So it's just a pleasure to do with these guys, and hopefully we can get able to get the win.
You just came off a college squash career. You faced some hostile environments. Compare those environments to the hostile environment here in Chicago.
I mean, it's definitely both are very hostile. I feel like people here are nice. In college, they can be pretty ruthless, pretty aggressive. They can say some really mean stuff. So like we're used to it in college, but like they just make squash fun. You know, like have crowd, like a very engaged crowd, and have people like care about it, and just makes everything better. So
Good luck in the third period, Matthias.
There goes one of the fastest rising stars in professional squash today, Matthias Knudsen from Bogota, Colombia. Has some great training partners, Sean Choi. When he's back home in Colombia, he's got Miguel Rodriguez there to smack the ball around with.
Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who still have your
And then when he comes here to the States, he's got the U.S. national team at the U.S. National Center, the Arlen Specter Center. Timmy Brownell, Spencer Lovejoy, and company. Andrew Douglas as well in that mix.
All right, you can receive him right over there with our referee. Hang him right over.
Bill Buckingham, our master of ceremonies tonight. Our P.T. Barnum, if you will. So swift, so suave. Mic in his hand.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have one more period left. Get your beers, get your food, get ready to rile up your Chicago Grizzlies.
All to play for in period number 3. Two clearly very evenly balanced rosters. Each of these players ranked within the top 100, except for, of course, Daniel Mekbib, world number 101 from Czech Republic. Reached the highest world ranking of 70 in the world a couple of years ago. They can get back there.
For New York, in this final third period, Sebastian Bonelay. And for your Chicago Grizzlies, Ben Smith.
Very, very talented teams, and the tension and the atmosphere from the University Club of Chicago, palpable, Sean, as we're ready for period number 3. Remember, the third period, an extra 10 minutes. This third period will be 30 minutes instead of 20. And as Bill Buckingham just told us, each team has an extra substitution in this third and all-important period, and an extra power play. In addition to the 2-minute power play that each team had in periods number 1 and number 2, they will have that 2-minute power play at their disposal here in period number 3. And they will also have a 1-minute power play in addition to that. So, key to manage those power plays efficiently if you're either team.
Jackson. Final pick on this third period. Who's going to take it
I'm
on?
going to stick with my original prediction. Chicago looked great in period number 2, but I think New York City comes out on top. I think the talent and athleticism from Beaumont is going to be too much. I do think he's going to work up a bit of a lead here against Ben Smith in the opening 5 minutes.
I'm going to take the other way around and go for the Grizzlies.
Drama. And that's beautifully placed by Beaumont. Can you hit a better straight drop shot than that?
That's how he felt about my prediction there, Sebastian.
Yeah, I just think this may be a bit of a mismatch, Sean. Beaumont is so quick. Ben Smith does move well for a big man. But I do feel that the lack of experience may not be enough, but that's a great shot off the volley, and that's the advantage of being that big, is that height often is accompanied by a massive wingspan, as we see from Mr. Smith. Great reach on that volley drop, as you indicated, Sean.
As we settle into the third period now, back to jockeying of the backhand side. Oh, sensing a bit of fatigue from Ben Smith here. Sebastian Beaumont's pace. As you mentioned, this might be a mismatch, as Sebastian does like to play at the high pace and cut off the ball.
Am I sending Ben Smith the wrong way there? And Sebastian's going to want to keep on the volley and keep the pace and tempo up.
Wow.
Here in the early going of period number 3, but some great digs here.
Beautiful hands.
From the youngster from Grimsby, England. Oh, and there's the error, but a great rally. Ben Smith showing the chop.
Oh.
2, 4.
The
Excellent
hardest shot to
three-wall
squash the
boast there.
three-wall boast in action. It is
Where's my
imperative
Denison
that Ben
teammate,
Smith
Ray
doesn't
Andar?
let Sebastian Beaumont take too much of
love
a
that
lead
one.
here as he cuts it down to 1.
I'm impressed by Ben Smith here. This is a good effort from him. He's stepping up in a big way for the Grizzlies. Wow. What a drop shot. What a lob from Smith.
Oh,
Oh my goodness, hands. Smith has tried to play
He
through there.
squeezes
He's made a great effort, and I think the stroke is fair. And we're all tied up here in period number
back
1,
to
Sean.
parity, Jackson.
Nothing separating these two.
I mean, crazy to see that these two were featured in the European Championship final, and now they're representing 2 different cities in the U.S. How things can change within a couple weeks. But they do remain rivals. Oh,
NSL bringing Team Squash to the U.S. in a major way, and there's an error from Smith. Well, it's a massive wind-up. It's really shaped that drop shot there, but Beaumont is all over it.
the Chicago Grizzlies might have to look for a substitution here.
Yeah, Ben Smith doubled over there just for a moment. He looks a bit gassed. He's gone for the nick.
4.
Wow. Yeah, Smith is tired out there. Chicago's going to have to
He
think
did
about a
defend 2 power plays.
substitution.
So those legs have been put
If
through
I'm
the ringer.
if I'm the New York City Knights, I would call a power play here. I know it's early in the period, but I would look for a power play here if Ben Smith doesn't check off after this rally, because of course when a power play is called, then no substitutions are allowed during those 2 minutes or 1 minute.
Wow, Jackson, brilliant
That's what New York
strategy.
City decides to
Someone
do.
get him out of the commentary booth and put him in the coaching booth.
For the Grizzlies, Andrew Dutchess.
Wow.
I think you made an incredible point there.
New York City will not get the chance.
Locking them in is such a
thank you,
great
Sean.
point, Jackson. Not being able to leave
Yeah.
during a power play. Hopefully, people
Absolutely.
listen up to that one and utilize that strategy in the future.
And here comes Dougie. This is a great matchup. As well, in addition to Britain and France, the U.S. and France, a bit of an underrated rivalry as well.
A big rivalry in the U.S. Junior days. I believe that these two have met. I don't think Sebastian played Andrew. I think Andrew was playing the one string at the time, the World Juniors, while Sebastian was playing three.
Well, Sean, I'm
against
going to
Sam
put you on the
Sherrill.
spot here. Yeah, and you did know the answer. And yeah, Cheryl with a big win in that matchup in juniors, playing the number 3 spot for the U.S.
I do
Dougie
believe
playing
Andrew
one.
also won his match, giving U.S. the victory over France.
Spencer Lovejoy falling just short against Victor Cruin. How full circle is that? Those two squaring off in the Team World versus Team USA exhibition match during NSL Draft Weekend from Nashville, Tennessee. But yeah, there's a great photo out there that exists on the internet. Don't have to look too hard for it. Of Sam Sherrill massively celebrating, a massive roar. He's nearly eaten his fist, as Joey Barrington would say, after picking up that win over Bombay to clinch a massive upset for the United States in the World Juniors.
One of the best junior teams. This was a really good period of U.S. squash, as we see all of them featured now in the professional circuit. Glad to see the likes of Timmy, Spencer, and Dougie take the professional route. And hopefully, who knows, Jackson, this NSL could prove to be a eye-opening experience for Sam Sherrill, and maybe he thinks that he could tackle on the professional circuit.
Never say never, Sean. Couple gut busters here since Dougie's checked on. Sebastian intelligently slowing up the pace. Dougie's such a strong base. He's going to be able to dig a lot of balls out of those front 2 corners with less effort than the 6'4" Ben Smith. So intelligent from Sebastian here to hit the ball, to keep the ball long, build the rallies from the back, slow down the pace a little bit here, given his opponent, and that's an adjustment he's made on the fly. Very impressed with Beaumaye in his NSL debut. We mentioned it earlier, a couple times where Mekbib checked on in the middle of his shift in both periods number 1 and 2, made that adjustment, going from a righty opponent to a lefty opponent in a matter of seconds, and here showing his squash IQ, dealing with Andrew Douglas far differently than he did with Ben Smith, and maintaining a 3-point lead for the New York City Knights in period number 3.
What a rally this is. As Joey would say, this is one for the purists.
Come on, Seth.
Wow, and a decision, a yes let given. That was a rally and a half, Sean.
Sebastian not happy with that decision. As we see Matthias in the side, doing his best to block our view. Jackson.
Up for New York.
Oh, Matthias. Here he comes. A great effort from Sebastian Beaumaye. He's certainly done his job in the early going of period number 3. He's
Jackson, I
laid
just
the
realized
foundation.
that this matchup is a lot less low scoring as opposed to a lot of the other NSL matches we've commentated so far. It's a lot more rally oriented.
Only 9-6. As we're almost 10 minutes into period number 1.
I do think as much as Matthias has risen to fame with his attacking shots, he does have excellent depth and length too.
I don't know if he's going to get a lot there. Matthias saying he's scared. Matthias wants a safety let. He feels that a cross court could result in him taking out Dougie's other eye. Dougie, a cheeky smile. And Matthias responds with massive force.
Stop.
Dougie wiping his glasses now.
Power
Taking his
play
time.
for New York.
Bill Buckingham informing us of the 1 minute power play. Matthias staring daggers through the soul of Andrew Douglas. And here he comes, a half Mizuki with relentless pace. And Sean, forget about the attritional squash we've played witness to for the last 5 minutes. Here comes Knudsen.
Stop play, guys. Stop play. Dougie, you're bleeding.
Oh, pause in the action.
Another unprecedented situation in the NSL with bleeding.
3-minute injury
I don't know if this was
timeout.
Matthias' doing.
Do you know where he was bleeding from, Sean?
I'm assuming it's on his eye, but I could be completely wrong.
I hope, I was going to say, I hope he's not bleeding from the eye. That would not be great. Once again, Andrew Douglas, tough as a rusty bag of nails, and there'll be a 3-minute injury timeout.
I mean, it should be quite the storyline if this forces another substitution.
After the match ends, we're going to have both teams stand up in front here, press conference style, and have our audience ask them questions. So please keep your seats after the match is over.
Are you going to sue for the injury?
All questions after the
Strategizing on court here for the New York City Knights. Knudsen really not happy with that no-let decision. He says, I don't want to hurt my friend any further, but I think it was ultimately the right call.
He has been noticing lately the refs are a lot more strict with decisions, encouraging play at all times. And glad that's being also applied to the NSL.
A stat I heard yesterday in Mustafa Assal's 5-game win over Paul Cole in the World Championship semifinal, Sean. 8 no-lets given to Assal in that matchup. Now, of course, Assal has his own issues with the PSA referees, including Ana Santa Maria, who's officiating that matchup yesterday. I will say, great to see Assal handle that defeat with class today at the hands of Diego Elias. First ever South American world champion. First ever South American world championship finalist, and now the first ever South American world champion from Peru. Not historically a great squash country. It's a great story.
Just fantastic to see different countries getting involved. As we also see Colombia being featured here, we see France. I mean, that's a classic. But Czech Republic being featured. Just glad to see other nations being involved in the sport.
Yes, on only 5 different nations represented in last night's matchup as well. Of course, the Derby City Colts featuring players from Colombia, as well as Nashville featuring Juan Camilo Vargas from Colombia. The Crushers, Simon Herbert from England, as well as Terry Brownell from the United States, Joseph White, the Derby City Colts, the Australian #1, and then Veer Chotrani, all the way from Mumbai, India. Squash. A small game in some ways, but a very global game, in the words of friend of the program, Nathan Wright. Nathan, based in Chicago, trains at the University Club. Wonder if he's in attendance for the match tonight.
just dawned on me, Jackson. It's a bit of a shame that Dougie, being a New York native, Brooklyn native, not being able to be selected by the New York Knights, as I'm sure he would have loved to be a part of the team that he place he grew up in. So,
Sean, it's funny you say that. In talking to Dougie earlier in the week, he told me that he would be lying if he didn't say that he was a little bit PO'd by the Knights' decision not to draft him in the first round. They had the third overall pick. They wanted to reduce the sword. They ultimately not able to be here tonight. That's how Sebastian Beaumont found his way onto the New York City Knights roster. But Dougie did say this match is personal for him. New York City passed on him. Born and raised in New York, lives in New York. His family's from New York. He said New York could have even lucked out on some extra ticket sales for their home match coming up in a couple weeks against Newport if they had drafted him. So this
that's
match
a
very
fantastic
personal for
point.
Dougie. He's going to want to win badly.
Oh,
There's the Mizuki. And Dougie, good width on the cross. As he responds. And folks, we're still in the midst of a power play. Remember, there were about 30 seconds left on that power play. Knudsen.
That is the end of the power play. The Knights lead 12-7.
TS.
a tough one for Matthias. I got a feel for him. He wasn't able to build any rhythm or momentum with a stop, which is
It's just a great weighted shot there from Dougie. Great hold.
incredible rally so far, Jackson.
1 minute power play. 1 minute power play for the
A
Grizzlies.
stroke given off the back glass, but it was right in
Now
the
we
middle
have the
there.
Grizzly power play as he goes for the 3-wall Nick.
Here comes the 1 minute power play for Douglas. Beautiful backhand drop shot. Here we go. Fasten your seatbelts. This is huge for Chicago, trailing 3, looking to close that lead. That's got to be a stroke. That drop shot popped up from Knudsen. A yes let given.
I think you have a no let on
Bit of a
that.
shocker. Oh, a no let. Sean, I don't know about the quality of that shot from Matthias. All due respect. Or a referee on site. And Andrew Smart there decided not to dig that ball back up for Matthias. He says, serve and let's play another rally. Matthias cannot hurt Dougie here. Only New York can score on the power play. So instead of hitting a defensive shot, Dougie says, let's play a new rally. Start out on even ground.
Yeah, this is a pretty
Another
disappointing
error.
performance so far, the power play. Wow, the fan.
Oh! This is the upside of Matthias Knudsen. Unbelievable stuff. Oh, what a get. It's a great lob. Matthias hanging in tough. This is a great rally.
See him breathing heavily there.
Winner of this point will receive a massive surge of confidence, and that ball sailing out from Douglas. A roar from Matthias.
End of the power play.
Four-point lead from the New York Knights.
Matthias is hanging really tough there. Absolutely battling. There's another error. This is gutsy from the Colombian. Two individuals, friends for over a decade. Here they are in NSL action in a crucial point in the third period. Winner of this third period takes the match. For New York, looking to win their first match of the year. They are 0-0. Chicago also looking to win their first match of the year. If New York is able to win this match, He'll advance to 1-0. And in 2 weeks, they will host the Newport Dragons with an NSL Finals appearance on the line. If Chicago can win and play spoiler here, they still have a chance to make the finals, but they'll need help from New York beating Newport.
What a squeeze that was. As Matthias looks back and says, I think I could do one more minute.
Matthias is breathing heavy. Not necessarily known for his fitness, known for his racket skills, but this is, once again, a gutsy performance from him. He's really battling. It's a great dig once again.
A lot of big movements.
Oh, and that's just great width from Dougie, and Matthias is ready for some. Great effort from Matthias there. Sebastian exited with a 9-6 lead for the Knights. Matthias maintains that 3-point lead for New York.
Fascinating to see this new matchup
American on American action here in Chicago. Cheryl has come out of the gates energized. His great movement from the New Jersey native, and that's great width on the cross. Dougie's not going to be happy with.
Dougie playing some major minutes in this third period right now.
And he led Chicago in minutes in the Grizzlies matchup against Newport. Had a team high 32.5 minutes in that matchup. Played nearly half the match for the Grizzlies.
These two were incredible rivals in the junior days and took on different teams in the collegiate scene.
Talking to Sam earlier this week. Of course, Dougie, at the time of his commitment, likely the biggest commit in the history of the University of Pennsylvania, the number one recruit in the country from America. Sam, these two have played on a number of occasions. Sam told me they played probably 10 or 15 times in junior days. Sam said that he generally took the first half of those matchups, and then Dougie started beating him pretty consistently in the upper age groups of U17 and U19.
Dougie being such a successful junior player in the U.S. squash scene. Wow. As we were talking about that, Dougie has cut down the lead to 1 point. This is probably the closest to third period I've been part of, Jackson.
Cheryl's looking to find his groove here. He's at a -2 deficit since checking on a few moments ago.
What lines this is, Jackson.
This is absolute pure class from both players. Quality down the backhand line. A real game of cat and mouse. Total staring contest between the two Americans.
As Bader forces the play to the back corner in the backhand for Cheryl. I don't know if this is intentional. I'm sure these two have played, as you mentioned, so many times. Very familiar with each other's games.
Stop play. We have a substitution and a power play.
Stroke given. Wow.
And a 2-minute power play.
Mekbig checks on.
What do you think of the strategy, Jackson?
And here is the 2-minute power play for the Grizzlies. Sean, this could be the match. Both teams have exhausted their 1-minute power plays. Both teams with their 2-minute power play still remaining. And here is Chicago's down 2. They need at least 3, if not 4 or 5 points here. Because New York, if they can just hang around, if they can keep this close, keep this tied or within a point after this power play, then they're going to be in prime position to use their 2-minute power play whenever they please to extend their lead or regain the lead. There's point number 1 for Mekbib. A
lot of errors from Daniel Mekbib.
Both teams still with 1 substitution remaining. Remember, each team gets 3 substitutions in period number 3 as opposed to 2 substitutions in the first 2 periods. As we are 2/3 of the way through the final period of NSL action from the University Club of Chicago. Tied up at 1 apiece. And Cheryl with a massive fist pump. This is a great defense so far from the American. All tied up 1 apiece. This is as close as it gets. The winner of the 3rd period here takes the match.
I think Sam's really liking this matchup, Jackson. Oh. What a shot.
20 seconds, 16 all.
As we're tied up now. With less than 10 minutes to go.
All knotted up. Sean, this point going to determine the success of this power play. And an error made. What a defense from Mr. Sherrill, allowing only 2 points for McBib on the 2-point power play. That is why Sam Sherrill, despite not being on the PSA World Tour, was drafted to play in the NSL. Incredible fitness, an incredible job of extending rallies and defending the attack-heavy play of Mr. McBib. Matias completely detaching his wrist there on that cross drop. So talented with the racket, wasting no time serving the ball off the McBib error. New York responding immediately with a power play of their own, looking to close out the match here. A 2-point lead now, I believe, for the Knights. That'll be 3. 3 points in only 34 seconds for the Colombian on the power play. This is special from the man from Bogota. This is why he was drafted in the 2nd round this year, despite at the time being ranked outside of the top 100. It's for this attacking prowess that we are all playing witness to. Matias taking that ball out of the back corner. I question whether he needs to play these balls up, although he did turn around into a winning shot on the next point. So what do I, or on the next shot? So what do I know? He's going for the cross drop from the back. That would have been a beautiful shot. One for the highlight reel, certainly. Matias Knudsen is absolutely rolling, Sean. 4 points already on the power play. He's found the nick, but McBib has just scraped that ball back. McBib doing diagonals. This is unbelievable. This is pressure feeding for McBib, and that's an unbelievable shot from Matias. 5 points on the power play. I believe this will be the record if he can get 6. McBib looking like he's on an island out there, and this will be the final point of the power play. Sean, I don't recall any player ever winning 6 points in that 2-minute time span on the power play.
We have a sub for Chicago.
5 points it is for Knudsen. 22-16 your score. And if New York is able to hang on here, I think Matias may have just solidified his man of the match status. Although Beaumaye so impressive here tonight, and Cheryl so good on that power play defense a few moments ago. It's been a total team effort for the Knights here. And Chicago has risen to the occasion, but what an effort in period number 3 for the Knights. Sean, what do you think about Ben Smith now checking on here to face Matias?
I think he needs to take some risks now.
Out there. Can Ben Smith close the gap?
There is enough time. I do think that the Grizzlies chose the wrong time to use their power play with Sam Sherrill being such a good matchup for Daniel McBib. And Matias just completely capitalizing on it. What a performance by Matias. on that power play. Really being a game changer there. As Matthias continues to grow the lead.
Glued to the sidewall. New York completely pulling away here. Need some last-minute heroics here from Ben Smith. And Sean, Chicago does have one sub remaining. If I am Grizzlies, I'm wasting no time to get Andrew Douglas back on the court right now.
He was able to mitigate the lead early on, but
Play the ball!
couldn't agree more with you, Jackson. As the New York Knights came out here to play and came out to ruin Jackson's statistic of home team winning streak.
Just about to say, Sean, this will all but surely be the first road win of the 2024 NSL season. The first 4 regular season results going the way of the home team. Ben Smith, never
Still
say
4
die
minutes of play
attitude.
left.
Sean, we saw an explosive couple of minutes there from Simon Herbert last night in the Nashville match. It was almost enough to bring the Crushers back from what I believe was an 8-point deficit. Cut the lead down to 3. Might have even been 9 or 10. 4 minutes, plenty of time. The Englishman who cuts the lead down to 7 once again. We've heard no fat lady sing here, Sean Choi. Not too many fat ladies in Chicago, of course. A lot of walking in the second city. So that means there's a chance. Knudsen responds, however. That's 8. That's a great bit of deception from the Colombian. Smell the victory.
Let's go, Ben!
3 minutes left in the match. 3 minutes.
Let's go!
This little afternoon stroll to the back left corner, taking his time.
Ben Smith does need to start taking risks now. What a stretch that was. Oh.
Wow. There's the error. 29-20 in period number 3, the all-important period number 3, as the New York City Knights in the driver's seat to pick up a victory in their first match of the season. Sean, this one's all but over. Who do you favor when it comes to your man of the match here from the University Club of Chicago?
I think this is the toughest one so far, Jackson. I think it was a very well balanced out team on both teams. But I do think if I were to pick a moment that really changed the momentum of this match, it was Matthias Knudsen's ability to score points and run away with it in the third period, as it was so close.
I'm going to agree strongly, Sean. I think all 3 of these players with a great case for a man of the match.
You know what?
Can't
Why
be
don't I
mad at
switch it
any
up and
for
just say, man of the match, give it to the coach to pick that power play and wait till the Chicago Grizzlies used it. Incredible tactic.
High IQ decision. Yeah, I think when you talk about the clutch gene, when you talk about pivotal moments in the match, there was no moment more pivotal than that Matthias Knudsen power play, who for the first time this season is set to send the hometown fans home disappointed. 50 seconds remain in the second to last regular season matchup of the NSL season. There you see the deflated crowd from the University Club of Chicago. The final match for Chicago, they'll fall to 0-2 on the season. The penultimate match for New York City as they will head now back home in a matter of 2 weeks, June 8th, where they will face the Newport Dragons with the NSL North Division on the line, as well as a spot in the NSL Finals. What a match, Sean Choi.
What a match. I thoroughly enjoyed that, Jackson. It was so close till that very end. Must be a huge win for the New York Knights. It means so much to them. I think they know how close of a matchup this was going to be.
There you see the final scores. Of course, the third period, as expected, more high scoring given the extra 10 minutes. Sean, we talked about it a little bit earlier, especially looking at that second period. Only 31 points, given how fast-paced this NSL league is. Relatively low-scoring matchup compared to what we've become accustomed to in the previous regular season matchup so far this year. So we're getting set for an interview just outside of court number 1 from the University of Chicago.
Guys, a very tough match tonight against a very, very tough New York team. You fought your hearts out. You bled for this team, Andrew. Guys, talk about that match and talk about the appreciation of the support of your home crowd.
Yeah, amazing, guys. All of you were absolutely sensational.
Wow, look at Andrew's left eye there, Sean.
Road trip to Newport away a couple of weeks ago, but you guys have made it worth it by coming back here. Sorry we couldn't get it done, but the boys did, I thought, a really, really good job. And actually,
Andrew, you just coming off a stellar career at the University of Pennsylvania where team squash was the thing. You're on the pro tour now, but again, back in the team squash realm. Talk about what that means to you.
Yeah, I mean, I would way rather be playing college squash than pro squash. So, for any of you that have any decision between the two, play college squash. Yeah, no, it's so much fun to play with these guys who, like, we see each other all the time on tour. Maybe we don't get to hang out that much, but we have some kind of common goal to rally around and hang out and have a good time together. So, I'm grateful for that opportunity and to be here and meet all of you guys.
Ben, you're just coming off the Euros, a huge team event where you won a gold medal for England. Now you're back in the team spirit again. Let's talk about what it was like to play in the Euros as for a team event for a tour pro, and then talk about the NSL.
Yeah, well, I mean, team events are always complete different formats. Like, you play guys who you might beat individually on the PSA, but when it comes to team, it's a complete different story. So, but I always enjoy it. It's nice to set up in a different way, especially the scoring system on the NSL. It's made it so exciting for us who usually just play a boring standard best of 5 first to 11. It's always nice to come and do something new, and I appreciate the sport tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I love the team events. For us in Czech, it's always playing like first division with these guys. And we usually fight for staying in the first division, so we have like a survival mode from the first match. So for us, every match counts, and I love these team events and seeing people coming out and support their teams, making it like more, jerseys and the home teams. It's such a nice vibe. Yeah, so I really appreciate it, and it's been amazing.
We have time for a couple questions from our audience. Anybody have a question for any of your Chicago Grizzlies?
What's your strategy in the power play?
Compared to like being in squash where it's very formal and you have to like, it's very, very, the crowd is very, very quiet most of the time. How is it being like the favorite and having everyone cheer on even during the point?
I mean, depends which country you're in. Not always so polite. And it depends on the level of alcohol. So, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different. I think you have to get used to be like just not pay attention to the to the crowd. Even if it sounds weird, but if you get into your head, it might affect your play. So I think you have to be focused on what's the plan, what to play.
I mean, I grew up as a football fan. Well, soccer to you. So this is absolutely like my dreams, playing in front of being loud, being like that. So it's absolutely unbelievable. Like I say, you never get something like this on tour. So to come out here and do this has been a real amazing experience.
Yeah, I do it all day.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, one last round of applause for your Grizzlies. And if we could bring up the winning team for tonight's match, New York Nets. Guys, obviously you weren't the crowd favorite here tonight. The key to the match, obviously, was a tight match going into the third period. 16-16, power play was called. Matthias stepped up. When he stepped off the power play, it was 26-16. That was the turning point of the match.
I mean, yeah, I think we had some problems with the strategy at the end because we weren't sure if it was 3 or 4 subs. So our initial strategy was get me in, shoot everything, hope we catch a lot of points, and then get our machine. Just burn the time, but I mean, it is whatever. It worked out. The hand got hot, you know. I was able to make some shots and then just hold it at the end. I'm very happy with the result of the team. Obviously, the guys did a great job, but it was just a big team effort.
Coach, your first win as the head coach of the New York Knights. Talk about your strategy, when to sub, when to call the power plays. Thinking about that ahead of time. Did you lose sleep last night talking about this match?
Lost a lot of sleep last night, but I came in very confident, let all the guys play to their strengths, and tried to craft our strategy around each of them shining in the areas that they really shine.
And before we go to the audience, I have one last question for Sam Sherrill. Sam, you're the only player amongst them who is not a PSA player. You went to Harvard University, decided to go out into the real world and work for a living, and now you're back playing squash against these high-level PSA players, and more than holding your own tonight.
Yeah, no, it's an incredible opportunity. I think I'm especially appreciative of it. I don't get opportunities like this very often to play PSAs in front of lively crowds, and it's very special for me to go out, know so many of these guys well from juniors, and just to have the chance to see how I match up against them and entertain a crowd. Like that's really the best part of squash, and especially when it's a lively crowd. Either way, to Daniel's point, the energy kind of everyone feeds off of it, whether they're for you or against you. It's just nice to be in a lively atmosphere. So I'm especially grateful for that. So thank you guys.
So you guys spent the evening booing and hissing these guys. Do you have any questions for them now that they're facing you?
What's your strategy on the offensive or defensive side of a power play?
So the question was, just in case they didn't hear it at home, what's the strategy on the offensive and defensive side of a power play?
Yeah, I think to what Elizabeth said, we tried to craft the power plays around our strength. I think we felt Matthias had the best ability to rack up points quickly, and so we let him do most of the power plays. And I think on the defensive side, you saw the game changes when you're down, and you play more conservative. I thought, honestly, in that last period, we did that really well. It just totally changed the way we played, depending on what was called.
Yeah, I think there's differences between how you can play power plays. If you play in an attacking mode, I think you should use the player that's most confident just taking the ball in. I feel like to your question, the strategy is just going for it as much as you can, because you guys saw me I grabbed the ball with my hand a couple times just because it's such a bad position to shoot from there. I'd rather just not waste more time and have a serve set up to my rack and see if I can go for it, right? So I feel like you're just maximizing your time, and the offensive power play is by far the best.
and in defense, some people start loving the ball, and I think you should just play normal. Like the more you love the ball, the more you open up the court, the more chances you give away. So I think in the defense part of the power play, you should just like play normal squash and keep the ball as tight as you can.
Yeah, I mean, he's totally right. I mean, it depends if you're against a guy like Matthias, do not jump. You guys just have so much option there, so yeah. And yeah, he plays so well on the power play, and I think we made a good call to put him on the power play after Douglas did his power play. At first, yeah, we thought like I could sub after, but he managed to win every month after that. So yeah, very good.
One last question.
I noticed that for both teams, when the power play was activated and you were on the offensive side, there were a lot of tins. I think that's because you're more free to go for kills and nicks and all of that. But when you make all these tins, like, is it that beneficial to go for them? Because in the end, you're still wasting all this time.
I think in the second game, for example, I did a power play when I was down, and I've tried to catch up, and I did some mistake. I think it's good to have a power play when you are up, because you have more confidence, and in case the guy doesn't win points, and you take the lead anyway. So I think we made mistakes because we have some pressure to get back to the point. That's when we do a lot of mistakes, but when you are in the lead, I think it's the best to do power play.
Just, I think the biggest factor of like going for it in the power play is just that you have to save yourself up, right? Like the game is long. Like at the end, I was like struggling to keep the ball like just going to because I was tired. So I feel like hitting the tin doesn't have any repercussions as long as you're able to like manage it in your head, saying like, okay, this is power play mode, and you're able to switch off. Because if you stay in that mode and you keep going for it after the power play, you start missing, then it's not beneficial at all. But it doesn't matter if you hit the tin because it literally doesn't count, and you also don't waste any energy. So you just go for it, and you have a 50-50 chance that it goes in, right? So might as well take it.
Thanks, guys, and congratulations. Another round of applause for all the players. Those things are all the players playing in a better program all day yesterday, and then they participated in the training all day today with the members of the University Club. So one more big round of applause for your Chicago Grizzlies and the New York Mets. Thank you for coming, everyone. We appreciate it. Good night, Chicago.
Bill Buckingham, a great effort once again. And Sean, that'll do it from the Windy City, New York, breaking the streak of teams being undefeated at home this season. The first 4 regular season matchups resulted in the home team coming out on top of the visiting team. However, New York City picking up the first road win of the year. And now we have one final regular season matchup remaining in the National Squash League. And Sean, that matchup will determine the victors of the North Division and will determine who makes it to the NSL Finals in June at the Arlen Specter Center. That matchup, of course, in New York City, your stomping grounds, the Big Apple, and it will feature these very New York City Knights, 1-0, taking on the 1-0 Newport Dragons, with so much to play for. Without question, the biggest match of the NSL season thus far. Sean, who do you favor when it comes to Spencer Lovejoy and the Newport Dragons versus this outstanding New York City Knights team that we saw put in a great effort here this evening?
I can't wait for that match. That's going to be an incredible way to wrap up this season. I think, if anything, more than anything, I want to see the Sanjay Jiva versus Matthias Knudsen shootout battle. That would be an incredible spectacle if that could be happening, especially in the shootout. But, yeah, couldn't agree with you more, Jackson. I'm just hopefully I can be there in person. Hopefully we can be there in person. But, yeah, I think that'd be a fantastic way to wrap up the season. But I'm going to have to go with New York. I think New York Knights showed me today the quality of what they have on the table.
What a great match. Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off there. A little lag on my stream, but we're back. We cut out for a second there, but yeah, Sean, what an effort by the New York City Knights. Sebastian Beaumais off waivers, unbelievable athlete. And something else worth noting about this New York City Knights team, all three members, total class acts, great for the game of squash. And you could say more or less the same about the Chicago Grizzlies, three outstanding individuals. Obviously, a lot of these guys we've been able to interview in the past, and have always been good to us, Sean. So it's good to see them prospering here at the University Club of Chicago in live NSL action. What a match, what a night, what a weekend of professional squash after the Derby City versus Nashville match last night, the Chicago versus New York City match tonight, and of course the World Championship Finals from Cairo, Egypt. It's been a jam-packed weekend of pro squash, and I'm glad that we were able to cap it off here from the Windy City. Sean Choi, any closing thoughts before we send the people off this evening?
The last thing I'd add is going to have to, on our end, or on my end at least, give that MVP to Matthias, but we'll have to see, as I wouldn't be mad about anyone else getting it on that New York Knights team. What say you, Jackson?
I mean, total team effort. I think really the turning point of this match was that Matthias power play where he racked up 5 points, totally turned the tables on Chicago, extended the New York City lead from 1 point out to 6, and Chicago was not able to recover. Daniel Mekbib called a power play to counter New York's power play. Sam Sherrill, an unbelievable power play defense, only allowed 2 points on that power play. And from there, New York City ran away from it. That was the turning point of the match. That was a clutch 2 minutes from Matthias Knudsen. I would have to give it to him, but really, no one on this New York City team put a major foot wrong here in this one. A great effort from the Knights. This is clearly a team that is built to champions come June 21st, but they'll have to go through Newport first, and then, if they're so lucky, Nashville in the finals. Tickets on sale for the finals, June 21st, at NSLsport.com, as well as New York City's home match against the Newport Dragons on June 8th, a couple weeks prior. Head to NSLsport.com for info and tickets for those matches, as well as to purchase your favorite players' NSL jerseys, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast. Half of the proceeds from those jersey sales going directly to the players. Support your favorite player in the National Squash League by buying an NSL jersey today. And for Sean Choi, my name is Jackson Bragman. Thank you for watching the NSL on the NSL YouTube channel, and we will see you in New York in 2 weeks' time.